Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you one of the funnest, most unreliable vehicles ever produced. That's one way to describe it, I guess, in my eyes. This is a 2002 Land Rover Discovery SD. And these are one of the worst vehicles ever made because their motors are terrible. They're terrible, terrible, terrible. You can always find a blown up Land Rover. Everywhere you go, somebody's got one that's overheated, or they couldn't get it to crank, or something crazy was going on with it and they parked it and it's been sitting there. Well, that is a huge thing with these trucks, and it's very, very sad because I've owned 3 of these. This will be my 4th, and I've bought every one I've owned with a problem, or somebody just wanted to get rid of it really cheap, and I'd flip it because they sell great, because they look really cool. They're really cool looking SUVs. I don't think any other SUV has a safari window in the back on both sides. Yeah, that might not be that cool, but it is to me. And the character of this car, the way it handles, the way it drives, the way it looks, and the small things about it are just really fun, and you can fall in love with it. You either hate it or you love it. A lot of people will be turned off because it is so unreliable, but I'm going to fix that. I bought this Land Rover Discovery for $500. That's right, $500. And you know what? My money's there. I've got doors, I've got glass, I've got a hood, I've got wheels and tires, I've got a transmission, I've got a rear end, I've got drive shafts, I have a transfer case. I have all of that I could part this thing out and get my money's worth, but I hate to do that to vehicles. I don't think I've ever parted out any vehicle I've ever owned, just because something in me is like, we'll get her running where she can see the road one more time. Well, in this case, this is my 4th one. The first one, I drove it. I let my sister drive it. I replaced the starter on it. I had to do some work underneath it because it had issues. Very rusty. I sold it. Got all my money back and then some. And I drove it for like probably a year, if not more. The second one, somebody posted one in Jacksonville, Florida. I talked him down to a great price. It had a lift kit on it, and it was dark green, tan interior. I drove down there, bought it. Didn't have any issues. I had it for like a week or 2. Sold it, made a little bit of money. The third one I bought, black. Transmission wasn't working. Motor ran great. I went, picked it up, loaded it on a trailer, brought it home, found a transmission, bought the transmission, put a transmission in it. Next thing I know, head gasket's blown. I'm like, what the hell? The thing ran. I let it run for like half an hour before, no problems. So that one actually bit me pretty hard because I took it to a mechanic that said he could do the work really cheap. Turns out he didn't know what he was doing at all. I got screwed, guys. I lost a lot of money. So I quit messing with these things for a while. I said, them things are they're just shit. They're just pieces of shit. And it's so sad because I really love driving these things. I love the way they look. They have this off-road safari. I'm going to go, wherever the hell I want. And that's kind of what Land Rover, and even the name Land Rover, the rover of land. But anyways, so this car, I bought it for $500. Guess what's wrong with it? That's right, the motor, it's shot. We'll come over here. It's got some other issues too, but it's a 2002. So this is a 4.0 liter. I think they quit making this motor for the Land Rover after this year, for this model at least. And they went to a 4.6 I believe. They changed a couple little things on the next model, but not much, about the same. So I did get this to crank, even though he had a shop diagnose it. It's making a hell of a noise on this side of the motor. It is backfiring through the intake. It's got a lot of issues, so I've decided to just take the motor out, and I have two options. Option one, find a stock Land Rover motor that is eventually going to fail, put it in the Land Rover, and see what happens. It's like you're driving around with a ticking time bomb. It's great. You're always checking the gauges. You should do that anyways, but in a Land Rover, you're like making sure you catch that temperature gauge, baby, so you can shut her down if she starts to overheat. So my second option is to LS swap this vehicle. I have two LS blocks. I have a 5.3 iron block, and it has the fuel management bullshit. And I also have a older 5.3 that doesn't have that, which is the one you want to use. And there's a kit that you can buy now. Somebody's been producing for the last 3 or 4 years, I would say. It feels longer than that, because I found him a long time ago, and I was like, oh my God, and he wasn't producing them really yet, but now he's producing them. Now you can bolt an LS motor in these babies, bolt right up to the factory trans. You have to wire it in. I think you have two computers, basically, one running the LS and the Land Rover one kind of reading that one and tricking the Land Rover ECU. I guess that's how it works. That's how it works in my mind. Anyways, I'm just talking out of my ass. But anyways, you can do that swap. Okay, so what does that do? It gets rid of that junk-ass motor, all right? And you're left with a pretty decent product. You're left with a pretty decent product because the interior on these things, they hold up because they're genuine leather. I mean, this is a 2002, man. This is a 2002, okay? Look at that over there. Look at that seat. Look at the back seats. There's no tear. There's no, it's hardly any wear. And I love the way you sit in these things. You sit super high up in the air. And, yeah. It's got like stadium seating. The back seats are higher than the front. This is the SD model, so this isn't really like loaded out with all kinds of stuff. We don't have heated seats. It's very sad. And that's one thing I'm like, do I really want to spend, a lot of money on this? It doesn't have the heated seats. It doesn't have the jump seats. It doesn't have a rear sunroof. But to be honest with you, that's less problems you're going to have to deal with. So I think I'm going to bite the bullet and just go ahead and, do it. Go ahead and do an LS swap. I've never done an LS swap before, and this will be my first one. Headliner is notorious in these things for sagging. These things are notorious for leaking as well. So that is another good reason or, to get one with only one sunroof. There's less issues to be had, I guess. But yeah, it's